So what should I ask when touring a home as a home buyer? And
Let's go through them kind of quickly and then dive in. So what's included with the property? Is there a homeowners association? And if so, how much and what does it cover, right? What kind of condition? How old are different systems and mechanicals in the house? What's the vibe of the neighborhood, the lifestyle there? I've got information on that. What are the property taxes and what might they be?
Yeah.
Help, I need some guidance. Help, selling and buying. Help, I need some real estate. Help.
So Tego, I'm really excited. Let's talk about what should I ask when touring a home, or what should I be paying attention to when I'm out shopping for homes with my realtor?
Well, the thing that's interesting about this question is it came up and we don't think about it because we do this every day as professionals.
I think about it.
Well, let me clarify. My point is, a home buyer may think that, oh, that's a stupid question. I don't want to ask that question. I don't want to sound, like I don't know what I'm doing. But there are no stupid questions.
Right.
Really.
Right.
There really aren't, because there's, you and I have been doing this for so many years, and we've been involved in 4,000 plus, home transaction. There's always something you didn't know or we didn't know. I know. I'm not talking about you because you know everything.
Oh, please.
But
you're a smart husband.
Yeah. So anyway, so just some questions, and let's just kind of banter about this a bit because I think it's an interesting thing. So what should I ask when touring a home as a home buyer?
Let's go through them kind of quickly and then dive in. Okay. So what's included with the property? Is there a homeowners association? And if so, how much and what does it cover, right? What kind of condition? How old are different systems and mechanicals in the house? What's the vibe of the neighborhood, the lifestyle there? I've got information on that. What are the property taxes and what might they be, right?
Yeah.
And for negotiations, you might want to know a little bit about maybe why the seller's moving, which we may not ever know. Have there been price reductions? How long has it been on the market? So let's jump back up to what is included with the property.
This is an important question, and we have to remember when you're buying and selling real estate, there's certain things that are personal property, and there's certain things that are real property. And real property is something attached to the home. And so you have to be very clear and not just assume that something stays. And so I think one of the traditional examples is there's a closet, or what's your example?
Oh, I thought you were going to do that. If you took the house and put it upside down and shook it, whatever would fall out doesn't stay.
Well,
right?
that is a great way to say, okay, what is personal property and what is real property? Is you turn the house over and you shake it.
So if there's a microwave sitting on the counter and you turn the house over and shook it, it would fall. If there's a built-in microwave inside a cabinet, right, that's built in, it's going to stay, right?
Yeah.
But not always. So you think about sometimes you put something on a bookshelf to make sure it doesn't tip over on your child, right? That's personal property, but it's got a safety reason.
Yeah, it's secured to the wall, but it's not really,
Some of the questions come up when you have TVs that are mounted. They aren't going to fall out, and the TV mount is affixed to the wall, but the television typically wouldn't stay. Some people leave their TV mounts, some don't. So it's a really important thing to clarify if that's important to you.
And I think the big takeaway here is the things that you just want to be very clear. So some other examples are the shed in the backyard, the hot tub, the range, believe it or not, you said microwave already, the refrigerator,
the washer dryer, a big mirror above a kitchen or a bathroom sink. That's just a mirror that's like fancy with a frame,
like it's hanging like a picture versus mounted to the wall. Yeah.
Right.
So the big question, and again, what's included in the property, is just make sure when you do get to making an offer, you know exactly what is included and what's not, and it's very clear. And your realtor should help you with that, but just make sure to ask those questions.
Yeah. So, homeowners association and fees, and what does it cover? Obviously, if you're looking at it and you have a very fixed how much monthly you can afford in a house, and you're looking right at the top of your price range, but there's $100 or $300 homeowners association on top of it, it might put that house out of your budget.
Yeah,
right?
no, for sure.
And
And part of that too is know what the HOA rules and guidelines and bylaws are, as well as the CC&Rs.
which are covenants, conditions, and restrictions to make sure. So there's a condo community in Rio Rancho, very close to Intel, and they do not allow pets of any kind. And we've seen so many times where houses or condos get listed for sale there, and then the buyer gets the rules and realizes that they can't buy that house because they have pets they're not willing to give up. Or they get all the way through closing, and then they find out that their dog or their cat isn't allowed, and that's a terrible thing.
Well, and there, another example that we've seen is the CC&R says you can't park an RV on the side of the house, even though every home in the neighborhood has an RV on the side of the house. Just because it's not being enforced doesn't mean you can still do it. So
Right.
just little things like that can come up. So you just got to make sure you're digging into that. Okay.
So one of the things, kind of a sidebar here, is when you're walking in a house and you're looking at it to see if it's the house for you, just remember that that house is being sold in its current condition. It doesn't have to say being sold as is with no repairs or anything, but basically you're buying what you see. You can't really expect it to be different when it's becoming your home, right? It's in its current condition.
Well, and I always say that every home is sold as is, and I know that. Well, I think we've done that
What
topic
that
before.
means,
What does
yeah.
as is mean? But
So
anyway, yeah.
condition questions, you should find out how old is the roof, and that's
Well, and that's what I wanted to say on that, Tracy. Is there's kind of two big dollar item things that you may just not know, and that's the roof, and that's the HVAC. Those
heating, cooling, ventilation system.
Exactly. So it's your heating, your cooling, as well as your roof. Those are the big ticket items that you just want to have maybe a little more information. And let's talk about the seller's property disclosure statement real quick.
Okay.
So there's a document that everybody that's putting their home for sale should fill out.
They
say
don't
that-
always.
They don't.
You
I know
saw my face.
You gave me that look, and I was like, yes, they should fill out. And sellers are expected to disclose any adverse material facts about the property, right?
And
That doesn't mean that if it had a roof issue 5 years ago and it's been fine since, that doesn't mean they have to do it. That's really just what the current condition is, right?
the seller's disclosure in our market was changed a few years ago, and it only asks for current information. It doesn't ask what has happened in the past.
And it's current problems,
Any current issues, problems.
right? So it doesn't have a place where you say, how old is the roof?
No, it
That's
doesn't.
not a question. How old is the HVAC?
No.
That's not a question. So you can always ask those questions, and probably should.
When we're touring the house, though, Tego, we won't know the answers. If I'm with you and we're looking at the house and you say, how old is the roof? I'll say, I don't know. But if this is one of the houses that's in your top that you think might be the right house for you, let's write a list of all your questions so we can ask them
Yep.
and get them answered, because it's not like I see a lot of houses. I don't know how old every roof is, but we can open the mechanical closet and look at the water heater and the furnace and kind of get a gauge. A lot of times there's a date on them or something that we can tell if they're older or newer.
And of course, everybody's going to, you don't have to, but everybody should get a full home inspection that covers, a lot of this stuff and goes through all that detail. So again, at the time of touring the home, we may not know, but the home inspector can dig deeper and find some more of that information about the condition of the property. And that's really the intent of the home inspection.
So Tego, a lot of times I'm out showing houses and clients will ask me about the neighborhood. What kind of people live here? What's the neighborhood like? Well, I go into different neighborhoods. I've been doing this for 22 years. And I don't know every neighborhood, and I'm not really allowed to give my opinion about a certain neighborhood.
Right.
So what we always do when that question comes up is we suggest go to visit the property at different times of day, not necessarily get in the house, but go for a walk. Go for a walk after work, when more people are home. Go for a walk on a Saturday. Go for a walk, while it's not very light out. Get a feel for the neighborhood. Listen for how much noise is in the area. Look for light pollution. Get a feel for it.
Yeah, visit different times of day.
Right. And different days of the week
and
if you
different
can.
days of the week if
Some
you can.
houses are going to sell way too fast for you to do different times of the week or whatever. But, go and hang out a little bit. See if there's a neighbor out to talk to.
Well,
They'll tell you.
One kind of, I don't want to call it a secret, but one of the things that people may get frustrated about is somebody will ask, well, what's the crime like in this neighborhood? What are schools like in this neighborhood? And realtors are going to say, I can't really touch that. And it's not because we're being coy, it's just because we can't. And so, but the good thing is there's a lot of great resources where people can do their own research and look at the crime stats for an area, look at the schools in the area, look at the traffic flow or what they call the walk score. Maybe that's a better thing. Like what's the walk score? What's the walkability? There's
livability scores now.
There's livability scores. There's even some things that'll give you noise pollution scores.
Right.
Every single home will have a noise pollution score as well. So there's a lot of your diligence that you can do yourself, doing your own research, because there's certain questions that realtors just can't answer.
So one thing that comes up, Tego, is we have in New Mexico, we don't have to disclose if somebody died in the house.
Correct.
So
or if it's haunted.
But we certainly wish that we knew that, because it's so sad when somebody's buying a house, maybe they're under contract or they've already closed on it and they move in and the neighbor comes over and says, do you know what happened in that house or something? And then they feel like they were left out of it and they didn't have the opportunity to decide for themselves if they were comfortable for that. And I know there are some ethnicities that have a big problem with somebody dying in a house, and that would be a big problem. So, we can ask the seller, even though it's not on the property disclosure, we can ask. And that's where walking the neighborhood and running into a neighbor can be very helpful before you are finalizing a sale.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's the most important thing.
I think that's it. The other thing is, let's talk about red flags. This is something you do. You train our team, you train other realtors in the community about what we call red flags. And these are just certain things that we know about certain areas, certain neighborhoods that we've learned over the years for certain reasons. And it's a tough one because some of it is just, you've heard over the years that this particular neighborhood may have some known foundation issues, or this particular neighborhood is, give me an example.
Well, there's the oldest neighborhoods here have different sewer line makeup, what they're constructed out of that could have problems. And, that's why we say you want to get a sewer line inspection, even on a brand new house.
Yeah, in-floor ducts is another one. Again, if the home has in-floor ducts, that's something else. If it's up against the mountain, it may be, a better idea to get a radon test if that's important to you, depending on where it's located. But radon's everywhere. I just got to make sure I say that too.
So it's interesting that you bring this up because I hadn't thought about red flags as a part of this conversation. But it's interesting. We have 3 realtors fairly new to real estate on our team that we've been teaching. And I have a several-page document of red flags that I've basically learned the hard way, right? I go to a home inspection and the inspector says, oh, this has
polybutylene
piping. And you go, oh, what's that? And that's how you learn, right?
Yeah.
Or it has Anyway, I've learned those things over the years and I've made note of them. And so I'm teaching and I'm going through these. It took us several different training sessions to get through all my red flags. And I'm thinking, till you really go to a house and you go to a home inspection and you see it and you go, oh, yeah, I remember Tracy mentioned something about that. But as my newer brokers are going out and showing homes, I'll say, show me what houses you're going to be showing. And I'll go, in this neighborhood, you better make sure to look under the sinks and see if it has gray piping for water. That could be a sign that it's polybutylene, right?
And then, make sure if you do decide to move forward, this is home that the home inspector is, can double check that. Or certain neighborhoods we just know are known for polybutylene, which, by the way, is just kind of a known problem water line.
Right.
And it's just, again, you only know that from experience.
Yep. And so working with an experienced realtor who's been around the block a few times, unfortunately, on these types of things is pretty helpful for you.
Yeah.
But that's where we do a lot of training with the team to make sure that they know.
Well, okay, so this went long. It's like we're talking about, what you should ask when touring a home. I hope this is really helpful for anybody because there's a lot of, there's so many little things that can be helpful. But let's just a couple more things. Let's just talk about property taxes because that one has burned some people.
Yeah, property taxes now in New Mexico, we have to disclose what the property tax could be based on the new sales price. Because for everybody that has homes here, they know that your property taxes can only go up 3% a year by law unless you sell the house, and then they can revalue it at the new price. So sometimes property taxes could go $2,000 or $3,000 higher after a sale. So the year after.
So the current tax is based on the current owner, and if they've been there for 20 years, it can be significantly different than once it gets reassessed. So keep that in mind. All right, let's just talk about for negotiations. So let's say I'm home touring, and you've taken me. I've looked at a bunch of homes, and I've narrowed it down, and now I'm wanting to think about, okay, I'm going to put my offer together. Now these are questions that we always are asking as realtors to help put a buyer's offer together. But what are some of the questions that a buyer may want to ask?
Well, we look at how long the house has been on the market. Is it occupied or vacant? Vacant house, somebody's probably still paying a mortgage on that might be more motivated to get it sold. Have there been any previous contracts on the home that fell through that maybe I should know more about why did they fall through? And have there been price reductions? A lot of buyers want to know why the sellers are selling, why are they moving? I can't always get that information. It's not always that the listing broker has the ability to tell that information. They have to have permission to share why they're selling.
And the listing broker may not know either.
They may not, yeah. But just kind of all those clues to help us to formulate and use towards negotiations.
Yeah. I think it's good. And if
we had a house, I spent a lot of time on the phone yesterday with one of our brokers who was writing an offer, and the house had been on the market like 262 days with no price reduction.
It's a long time in our market.
That says something, right? First of all, it tells me they maybe don't have any wiggle room, right? That they're going to be firm on their price because they haven't had any price reductions, or that they're really not that motivated to sell.
Thanks for watching the video all the way to the end. We appreciate you. And please click subscribe. We'll keep you updated on what's going on with real estate in the Albuquerque area and New Mexico, and of course, across the entire country. Have a great one.